Hey guys, and welcome to another review by Mousy. Today I am reviewing Dragon Ball Continuum, which is by Emelita over at RPG, which, as you know, or you may not know, is where I've got my review shop set up at the moment. So, she has asked for a general site checkup. Just let her know what I would do differently, which I should probably make clear at the top of all of these. My suggestions are only what I would do differently. They're not rules. I don't believe in rules. There's only one rule when it comes to running an RP board, and that is create the game that you love and don't let anyone else change it for you. So I am in no way do I believe that what I say on these is the hard and fast rule for anything. They're just different things that people may not have considered when they look at their own sites. You get a bit of a sight blindness at the time, at times, where you can't really see for yourself the things that you can improve because you spend so much time just improving little bits and pieces that you might miss other stuff. So that's what I do, is I go through sites and I give suggestions. So anyway, this is Dragon Ball Continuum. It has been running for about 12 months, and I'm going to say first up that I like that background. That is sweet. I love the colors. Immediately, something that I've picked up on is that the skin isn't needlessly complex. And I see that a lot now, is these skins that are so feature heavy that it doesn't even... Shami, stop playing with the cord! Sorry, the cat is playing with my headphone cord, and yep. Sorry about that. I see these skins that are very complex and confusing, and stop that, Shami! She thinks it's a game now. Alrighty. She does. She thinks it's a game. She owns me, so that's alright. What was I saying? Yes, complex skins. They don't need to be massively complex. Once they start not looking like a forum, that's when I start wondering if they're as effective as they could be. So this particular skin is very much things are in the place that I expect them to be, which is what I love. So you've done an awesome job with keeping to that. And just a very basic and simple layout here. I like this. I like this a lot. The little, not a sidebar, but a sidebar. My one question is how that translates on mobile, which is something that I am getting better at, is designing for mobile. So that's an iPad. Let's see. For an iPhone 7, it's going to scale down. So that's all right. It just could be that when you are on a site on a device that small, that little space that's taking up is going to squish your forums right down in a way that does make them a bit harder to navigate. But designing for mobile is always a horrific experience. Take it from me. My members are constantly telling me, Mousy, you gotta change this, it doesn't work on my phone. The number of members that I've got now that access the site almost exclusively from mobile devices now means that I really have to take that into account. So having something like that that could collapse or be otherwise pushed out of the way can be very useful. But from a desktop, it looks amazing. I love the introductory paragraphs. I think that's always very effective. And advertising open threads. This is oh man, I love it. Because what you want people to post open threads, but you don't want 100,000 open threads. You want people to jump in and have fun and do the thing. Come on, guys, do the thing. So yeah, having your open threads posted up like that is amazing, and the C-box being there in the top, I can see, yes, everyone's having fun. This is what I like. I love seeing people having fun on boards. Like, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? Um, I'm not overly fond of that scroll. So if you notice here, I'm using Chrome. I pretty much exclusively use Chrome. This is how it looks in Edge. And it is actually fixed on Edge. So you want to achieve that in your background image with Chrome as well, which I believe, where is it? I can never find anything in the back here. Um, I believe it's background image fixed, but it can be done, and it's very effective when you do. But at the moment on Chrome, it is scrolling. So that's something to look into. It's not a big thing, it just can be a bit disorienting when you've got this beautiful first page and then you kind of lose a bit of it as you go down here. It's a nice simple look and it would be fun. It's there's nothing wrong with this, um, but yeah, that image, if that stayed in place while you scrolled down, that would be so good. So I've talked a lot about not much at all so far. Uh, right. So you've got my classic favorite layout. Your site information at the top, your joining information and character information next, your roleplay boards, and then your add a character and advertising. That's pretty much the the best flow that I've found. The only thing that I do differently at the moment is having the out of character stuff up in the top, and that's because I've got it in a little forum with sub forums. Um, so it doesn't take up too much space and push down what we really want to get to, which is this bit here. This is where the fun is. Um, Stuff like this you could probably do as a forum with subforums. You don't necessarily need it dragged out. It's there's nothing wrong with this either, but again, be aware of how far you're pushing down your roleplay sections because everyone just wants to be here. This is where I want to be. So let's have a look at some of your documentation. Now, this is beautifully laid out. Yes. Look, a numbered list. Only thing I would do differently is where you've got capitals, I would use bold. I'm just a sucker for a bold text, but there's absolutely no reason why you should even do that, except that it's what I do. Um, Good standard reasons. Rules, sorry. Is it God modding or God moding? I'm never sure of that. Um, I always go for God moding with a single D. God modding, it works, I suppose, if it's from the point of like a backseat moderator type thing, but that's just, I don't know. I think both terms are correct, but every time I see God modding, it makes me look twice. So they're all quite standard. There's nothing really there that's unusual. This is nice and short, nicely spaced out. You've got a knack for laying stuff out. It's awesome. I love this little drop sort of banner mini profile. It's good. Frequently asked questions. I love frequently asked questions. So, yeah, more beautifully laid out. Some of these bigger paragraphs, possibly break them up a little bit just to make them a bit easier to follow. I will admit that I know nothing about Dragon Ball. Absolutely nothing, except my brother-in-law is mad for it. So, is that a glowing review? I actually don't know. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I know. I can see how with the fandom itself, how you're going to get quite a few players that jump in believing that they can create these extremely powerful characters. Dragon Ball itself kind of lends itself towards that, and I think it doesn't matter what you do, you're always going to get that from your target audience. That's what they come for. Um, they're not going to be your more. I don't want to trash talk anyone here either, because there's nothing wrong with the fandom. It appeals to a different group, um, that may be newer to roleplay and newer to the concepts, or may have a preconceived idea of what Dragon Ball is. Why is this scroll? That's weird. Okay. The image. Am I still in Chrome? Yeah. The image is staying fixed now, where it wasn't on the index, so that's a bit odd. Um, I mean, you've got a lot of information here that should limit what what people will create. Um, but you're never going to get every single person to read all of this and to understand all of this as it is in your particular Dragon Ball world. I think what you've got is quite respectable. But the nature of the anime being as something where people can be super powerful and super cool and everyone's awesome is you are just going to get those sorts of people who do need to be told, hang on, just chill. We can have equal amounts of fun without being massively, massively powerful. Which, is part of the joys of roleplay. This is cool. I like this. It's a bit of a highlight and thread recap, which is helpful. I like when boards go out of their way to sort of hook other people into threads that they didn't necessarily participate in themselves. So you've got a lot of effort to do that here, which is really awesome. Um, it's a nice little list. Again, I don't understand the need to make things thinner than the post space. I would widen this out. I just would. Um, it feels like a waste of space to me. But there's nothing wrong with it. It just look at all this beautiful white space. It's yeah, that's my thing. I'm forever frustrated by templates that make things so much narrower than they need to be. The divine. I have no idea what the divine means. I'm assuming these are awesome special people, special characters, which is cool. I love this trend of the diamond graphics. Like, it's cool. I have no use for it myself, but I love it. That looks nice, like really, really nice. Even though it's narrower than I would like. Oh, you've reused it here, which is nice. I love a bit of consistency and branding. That's cool. That looks really good. With lists like that, I can understand why it's a bit narrower, so that you've got your little so you can read the lines across. Wide lists can be hard to read, I'll accept that. So you got your power levels, which is good. I have no idea what any of these level categories mean, but I'm sure it means a lot to someone who is part of the fandom. It's a nice little list there as well. Alrighty, let's see how the application process goes. Alright. So this is your template, which is good. 2 paragraphs minimum. I understand the whole paragraph thing, but at the same time I don't. Paragraphs are such a vague way of putting an expectation down. Like a paragraph can be 2 sentences or 20. A bad paragraph is 20 sentences. But ideally, a paragraph is 2 blocks of writing related to a particular thought or point. So when it comes to deciding how much someone should write based on paragraphs, I struggle with that. I find that if you're going to set a count, set a numerical count. You'll get way more consistency out of a numerical count than you will out of paragraphs. Simply because, yeah, the definition of a paragraph is much harder to define. Just misspelt mandatory there, no big deal. But yeah, there's I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just very difficult to. I can't find the words right now. Yeah, I struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot. But I struggle with word counts as well. I don't work very well with word counts. But given, as I said before, your target audience, you are going to need to push a little bit more to get people to write more. They may not be as experienced with forum roleplay as, say, people in the Potter fandom tend to be. And they're usually a little bit more happy to explore. They're very enthusiastic people in fandoms like this, so it's an excellent thing, but also it can be a bit hard. So that's your application template. What's next? Okay, so I'm going to go back to rules for a minute. Because one thing I'm not seeing, which I would probably like to see, is an applications process. Now what that does is it gives you a way of guiding new members through the application process if you're not on the board. So that would be things like just pretty much stepping them through everything that you would expect that they do before they apply their character. So rather than jumping straight to the applications template, filling it out, posting it, being done, they go to a a creation guide, which would say, okay, well, here are the rules. Check out the rules, check out the plot, check out the canons that are available, check out the frequently asked questions, register your account name if that's a thing that you do, and then register your character names, or that sort of thing that really steps people through. I'll actually just show you what I mean here on Tally. I didn't prepare for this, so I'm sorry. So we've got how to apply. So this pretty much steps people through exactly what I expect. So from the very beginning, read the rules. Alright, sweet, we're ready to go. So then we have our player accounts step, which is where people register, introduce themselves, and there's the option to join our Discord group. Then we go into useful information, which lists the creation guide. And that's also got further links for people to follow. We've got the positions available, face claims, species information, and our general rundown of things, all Australian. Then we've got the profile creation, which we use the built-in custom fields, so I have to include that, and then submitting an application. And then we've got our little edits and reviews thing. So something like that can go a long way to helping people through the application process. With the experience that I've got, I would probably be quite confident going through all of those steps on my own. But I do like to see a list like that that just says, okay, go here, then here, then here, and people can kind of tick that thing off. And this might be where people are missing your frequently asked questions and your power limits and that sort of thing. If you link them directly to it, they're very likely to read it. Because, you know, you've got it there, it's part of the process. So that might be something that is useful. Your canon list, I've already looked at this, haven't I? Yes. So I think that's probably the most useful thing I can probably say regarding your application process, is getting that sort of quick start guide there. And the next one that I have that I find very useful is I'm a member, now what? Which goes through things that new members, after they've got their first character approved, can get into, like, you know, check this thread for open thread listings and start an open thread, or, you know, do all these things to really get yourself in the game and active from the get-go. I find it's really helpful, especially with my time zone, which I am forever whinging about, being that I can't be there during the most active periods of the day, which sucks. It really sucks. I can't be there all of the time. So that's probably going to be my biggest bit of advice, because everything else is beautifully laid out. Why is that image scroll? Oh my goodness, I am done with that. I don't know why that image is staying fixed now when it wasn't before. You saw it? Ah dear. Anyway, so yeah, it's a good looking board. I think you've got most things pretty well set. The nature of your fandom is going to bring a different type of people to what. There's nothing wrong with it. There is really nothing wrong with it. You're just going to have to take a little more awareness in the target audience, and maybe hold their hands a little bit more, because you've got an awesome site here that's part of an excellent fandom, and there's no reason why it can't be amazingly successful, like it clearly is. But yeah, when it comes to members that don't fully understand the processes and limits of forum roleplay, I think that's going to be just a feature of the fandom. There's not really much you can do about it except provide the documentation for them, be ready to enforce your limits, and just guide them towards becoming to develop as role players. Like, that's probably going to be one of the most rewarding things about this site is that you're open to players that are age 13, and I started when I was less than 13. I had to lie about my age to start role playing. No one ever caught me, which was good. I would have been very sad if I got kicked off my forums, but I did lie about my age, and I think I was lucky enough that I got onto a couple of boards that were quite beginner friendly, and they helped turn my writing from ridiculous, dramatic, horrible, horrible, horrible sorts of stuff. I was a massive power player. I did some terrible things, but I also got guidance, and they turned me into the person that I am now. And I think you're in a position to really do that with younger members and to really help raise the next generation of role players, which is very, very exciting. Um, but there's also no reason why this can't be an amazing place full of mature members that, you know, are having awesome fun in an awesome universe. So I hope that this has been useful. Um, Normally I do these things and there's not really much that I can pick on. There's not really anything here that I can pick on. Um, it's a good looking site. You've got an excellent community, you've got an excellent sense of management. But yeah, the two things that I would probably say is that top left banner, if you can get that to collapse for mobile, that would be amazing. But then that depends as well on how many of your members even care about mobile access. Um, and yeah, a bit of a quick start guide that will link people to the topics that you really, really want them to go to. And that becomes your go-to. It's a really useful link to have for advertising purposes as well. Because people just click on that and they're like, all right, there's everything I need to read. Sweet, let's go. Um, so yeah, they're probably my two main points. I do hope this was useful. I've rambled a lot, and the cat has passed out behind me, so she's no longer playing with my microphone cord, so that's awesome. Thank you for getting a review from me, and I will talk to you in the next one.